Hi, this is Rhee, and I'm excited to welcome you to our webinar series on the realities of dance competition. Our competition webinar series is brought to you by our partners at CC. Tutu Ticks, Costume Gallery, Headliners, hi all, excited to do my second webinar. I'm really excited about this one because I have some strong opinions when it comes to dance competition. And I'll start off by saying that not everybody needs to agree with my perspectives. However, I'd like my perspectives to be something that is considered by teachers and parents and dancers who participate, because I've had a lot of experience in the dance competition world. And probably I could go back to age 10, which would have been 43 years ago, and tell you that that was my first competition experience, which was a dance competition called Terpsichore Awards. Terpsichore is the goddess of dance, the Greek goddess of dance, and that is how that event got its name. I'm gonna say that was 1972. At the time, I think it was the only dance competition in the country, though it may have been preceded by competitions in Buffalo, New York, and in Canada. But this was the first one in the New England area. Music was on reel to reel, so teachers sent in their records to the guy who ran the dance competition, and he would record it on reel to reel. You couldn't hold an entry, you couldn't not perform at the time scheduled, because then you'd have to fast forward this reel to reel tape. So back then, a dance competition could go on from 7 in the morning till 2 o'clock in the morning. And the kids and the studios that were there got to know each other. Maybe it was the long hours, maybe it was the camaraderie of being together in an auditorium for so long. And you'd win first, second, third. Be 20 kids in the category. They'd be doing tap, jazz. Somebody might be on a unicycle doing acrobatics and gymnastics and baton twirling. And so everybody was in the category. They'd give out a first, second, third. 17 people went home with zero, nothing. Nobody complained, nobody got upset, nobody said it was fixed, nobody said that school knew the judges. It was different. You could actually view with your eyes that the talent was really strong that won, and not only could you see that, you could accept it. What you would do is go home after having seen what was really good, and you would start working harder. You'd start to achieve, start to get better, because you saw what you saw at the last dance competition, and you'd try to go back the next year and win one of those first, second, and third place trophies. And sometimes you'd win, but there are many kids when we were growing up in dance competition who never won one trophy, one award the entire time that they participated in dance competition. So that time ago, When it started, it was probably once a year, maybe twice a year that you did it. And if it was 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, however long the event was, everybody would be there for the entire time. Kids wouldn't come and dance and do their performance and then leave and come back and not watch the other kids from their school. It was this, okay, we're hanging out and we're in this together. So then, after a while, teachers and parents started to think, how can we recognize more kids? And I believe it came from Canada, but I'm not positive. The medal system, or what we called at the time the adjudication system, was introduced to dance competition. So what that brought was gold, silver, and bronze standings. Now, what that would mean is if those same 20 kids were in a dance competition, the number 1, the number 6, the number 18 could all win the same medal. That could be the gold medal. The other kids in the category could win the silver medal, the bronze medal. Some kids still would not win a medal. They would win an honorable mention because they weren't good enough to win the bronze medal. So that went on for a while, and that worked for, I don't know, a good 10 years, 12 years, where everybody seemed happy about it. Then after a while it became, maybe these bronze kids are a little better even though they're bronze kids, so we'll come up with a bronze and a high bronze. And then we came up with a silver and a high silver, and then we came up with the gold, and then something bigger than the gold could have been a high gold, a platinum, a titanium. So it didn't happen overnight, but it evolved into this circumstance where, if we fast forward to 2015, if you were to go to a dance competition today and you had 35, 40 entries, you'd probably go home with a minimum of 35 or 40 golds, and that would have been the lowest medal given. And then you'll get high golds, you'll get titaniums, and so will a whole bunch of other dancers in the dance competition. So you say, how did we get there from gold, silver, bronze, or first, second, and third? I have a thought on it. I hear teachers all the time say to me, Rhee, why don't you do a dance competition where you go back to first, second, and third? And in my mind, you know, it has been tempting. But I know all those people would come one time, 3/4 of their kids would go home with nothing, their parents will have paid entry fees, the parents will freak out, and the teachers will freak out when those 17 kids in the category go home and have nothing. So their intention is good and they'll do it the first time, but they won't be able to afford to come back to my dance competition because they'll lose students. So this is what my philosophy is. We can't put in 2015 on our Facebook pages that we won 18 bronze medals. We can't put that we won silver medals. You very rarely see that. But we can put that we won a gold medal. That we could get away with. So I believe that we're in this place that we're in because everybody wants to be a little bit unrealistic because of social media, and everything has to appear to be really awesome, and everybody has to appear to be winning. But reality is, even if that is the way that society is, and the way that parents may be thinking, the way teachers may be thinking, the way kids may be thinking, we could reel it in a little, and we could say to ourselves, gold, silver, bronze, by different names. It's really gold, silver, bronze by different names. So if we sat down with the kids in the studio and the parents in the studio, and we explained this new name thing and what reality is, and they understood, and we expressed to them how this process is about growing, this process is about getting better, this process is about these rehearsals where these dancers become stronger. It's about the commitment that they have to each other. It's about what they learn through the choreography process. It's about mentors and teachers who inspire young people. You express that to the parents, give them a reality check. Don't be afraid to tell the parents that that group really won a bronze award. And what does that mean? That means that we need to work harder. That means we need to take more ballet classes. That means we need to focus on getting better if that's what we want. But the reality is, dance will become totally mediocre if everybody wins the same award. One thing I realized last summer at my seminars here at the retreat center was that I ran into teachers who proudly let me know that they were national champions, and they should be proud. After I started to think about it, and know from the magazine and everything else, there are really 170 national champions across the country. So again, I started thinking to myself, what is the reality of this? I look at this whole process of what we're doing with dance competition, and I say, what can be done with it at this point to educate the kids, the parents, maybe even the competition directors about what real dance is all about? The mission to move an audience, the ability to be so creative that people sit on the end of their chair or the edge of their chair to see your work, to see your artistry. And I know that there's probably many people who are watching this and they say, but that isn't what the judges want, or that isn't what the judges score well. Then I gotta go a little deeper in response and say, why do we have to win? Could the winning part of this be the message that we send out by the work that we create? So therefore, we may not be the high score winner at this or that dance competition, but everybody who is there will know our school and know what we stand for, and that we have a reason for dancing. Rather than, I'm gonna create this awesome number and I'm gonna bring in this choreographer and spend a lot of money on this costume. I kind of look at it as take all that energy, all that time, all that effort, and put it into something that is going to change the kids who are dancing and change the audience that are viewing. So, how does that tie into dance competition? I believe that if you are unique enough and clean enough and technique is thought about enough that something simpler with a concept that is totally unique and different can and does win over somebody who's doing trick after trick. But the trick is that you're clean. You understand what a turned out leg is all about. You understand what feet should look like in a tendu. You understand that if these kids aren't strong at this pirouette thingy that you've choreographed, that shouldn't be in there. I do believe that we could go back a little bit in time away from this "we all have to win" attitude and start using the stages at dance competition as a way to speak, as a way to express. So I'm not going to say that I think we shouldn't be doing dance competition. I'm saying let's use it and do it for the right reasons, and let's not make it what we're all about. What our kids are always focused on, what our school is always focused on, what our faculty is always focused on, what our website is always focused on, what our Facebook page is always focused on, etc., etc. Let's make it so this is this part of who we are and what we do, and we have a blast with it, and we like to be artists, and this is when we have the opportunity to be that, but that we love to teach dance. We really love to teach dance, and that we get excitement from a kid who accomplishes some movement they couldn't do because they walked into our classroom. They don't even have to do it awesomely or technically correct. They could not do that before they walked into the classroom, and now they can. That can be just as much to a person who is a dance educator, or more to a person who's a dance educator as winning an award, if you want to view it that way. So I'm going to go back a little now and say this. I grew up in dance competition. Age 10, I won. I didn't win sometimes. I focused really hard on becoming stronger every year. I remember how much I wanted to go home and work after a competition was over. I remember going and trying to take classes from really good teachers so that I could get better and be stronger. And I'm not sure that I would have become the dance person that I became if it wasn't for the dance competition thing. So my history from the age of 17, I directed an event called the American Dance Awards. Did that until I was 43, which was something like 24 years of running the American Dance Awards. So I actually had an opportunity to watch the evolution from, let's say, the medals, from the first, second, and third place through the medal system evolve. And one of the things in the end that made me want to get out of the competition business, which I did, was that I had made friends through the years. Some of my friends came through my own dance competitions, some of them came through the organizations like Dance Masters that I was involved in, but I had friends all over the country. And I'd go to different cities and I'd run dance competitions. And this person who was my friend would come in and give me a big hug because I hadn't seen him in 2 years, and I was excited to see them. They were excited to see me. And then the dance competition would go on, and they might not score as well as they had hoped to score. some of those people left the event not speaking to me. So that was something that I had to accept as years went by. Then it got a little out of control where we were still trying to give a bronze medal. I think maybe we had said we'll give a high bronze medal because we still had to make a statement. So we did an event in St. Louis, and there was this dance teacher who was a friend of my mother's, who was also my friend, who was a great teacher, who called me on the phone after a dance competition, and she said, "Rhee, I've known you forever. I love what you stand for and your mother and your family and all of that, but I can never go back to your dance competition." So I asked her why, and she said because we awarded 2 of her dancers high bronze medals and that we psychologically devastated those children, that they would never be the same again because they won a high bronze medal. So then I asked her about the dancers, and she had no problem telling me that they were not nearly as strong as all the other dancers. But then she followed up with, but they should have got at least a silver medal because you don't want to psychologically damage kids. So I kind of took in what she said, well, upset because yet it was yet another friend, another person who the competition thing had caused friction between, and I was always for dance teachers getting along with each other. So I remember hanging up the phone and turning around to my business partner at the time and saying, "I'm out." And for me, it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I never wanted to be ever perceived as a person who would want to psychologically devastate a kid, or that I would psychologically hurt a child. And I always considered that it was better for the child, to the student, the dancer, for us to be realistic and honest with where they stood. But I think that my time and my philosophy came to a point where somebody else needed to continue this thing on, because if I could, I'd probably still give out that high bronze medal, because it wouldn't be because I wanted to hurt a child. My objective would be that if I gave that child a high bronze medal and they told them what they wanted or needed to work on, then hopefully I'd see that child again somewhere and they would be a better dancer from that critique. If I give them a gold medal, they're gonna think they're awesome and they're probably not gonna work very hard. So sometimes I think that the value put on competition by the parents in our school and their children is the value that we put on it. So I could say to my dancers something to the effect of, "Wow, that was so good, I don't know who could beat it." Or I could say to my dancers, "You know what? If I see a performance like that on Saturday, I'll be happy no matter what they score you." Then I'm subliminally telling them that winning isn't what this experience is all about. And if I repeat those kind of messages consistently, after a while it changes the atmosphere. After a while, it makes it so that parents will start to say to you, "My child is a better person because they came to your school." And the reason that they'll do that is because the child doesn't have to win to be accepted, doesn't have to be an exceptional dancer to be accepted. They're a part of this growing and learning process that's happening in your school that's going to prepare them for life in general. Only 1% or less of those dancers will move on to some sort of a professional career somewhere. So now the objective of the program that these kids are in is to make them so that they're good people, so that they're focused people, so that they know what the result of hard work can achieve. So when you are working with your kids and you have this attitude that it's about each one of them being the best that they can be as an individual, and what they win is sort of just the extra cool stuff. I call it the icing on the cake, the cherry on the top. But that cherry and that icing, that doesn't have to be there every time. And if we don't win, what is the educational process of the not winning experience? So let's think about that not winning education. I know from my own experience as a dancer that if I didn't score well or I didn't win, I know it would make me go back and work harder, and it would make me want to come back and be that dancer that I wasn't that day, that I would have learned that. So now I've achieved it, so I deserve the point that I get for having improved that much. And the educational process has other long-lasting effects, I believe, on kids, meaning when these kids become 18, 19 years old and they start going out into the real world, they're not going to get the job that they wanted to get. They're not going to necessarily get into the school that they wanted to get into. They're not going to be able to drive the car that they would really like to drive. But in their minds, they've been brought up where you don't necessarily have to work to achieve. And I'm not sure that the next generation is going to understand that reality is that you have to work really hard to get where you want to be. You have to dedicate yourself. You have to know your craft. You have to know your field, because they're growing up in this world, and it's not just in dance competition, it's in Little League and every other place out there where if you open your mouth or your parent opens their mouth loud enough, then maybe you can achieve this. And if you pay enough in tuition, then you're able to do a solo even though you're really not strong enough to do a solo. So they think that there's some way to maneuver around the basic thing that is the quality that gets anybody where they want to go, and that's hard work to achieve. That a person must work hard in order to get where they want to be. That there's no way to maneuver around it. And I get worried that the mentality of this generation is going to be that somehow they're going to maneuver around. And that we're creating it. We as the adults know this. If we didn't express our disappointment, that's parents and teachers, if we didn't say, wow, you should have scored better, or we didn't say, wow, I paid a lot of money for those entry fees for you to go home with a silver medal, our kids would have a different perspective of the whole competition thing. But I think even with the parents and the teachers, we're spending so much money. So are we buying we're a winner? Is that where we want to be? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So how do you move on and take it to a different place? New attitude, new focus. Do competition for the right reasons. Actually sit down and make a philosophy for why you compete. And one of the things can't be to win. It has to be everything other than to win. What is your philosophy? What is your objective for your dancers? What is your objective for their parents? Because know that in this competitive process, you're not only working with students, you're working with their parents as well, and that is a skill set in its own. And having the ability to stand up and say, we compete for this reason, and be so confident in why you do what you do, that the parent nods their head and appreciates that you have a reason, that you have a purpose other than winning awards. Thank you so much for joining us. As I always say, especially when it comes to competition, enjoy the journey.